Okay, so we're doing factorising algebraic terms, and this follows chapter 310, factorising algebraic terms in the Year 8 New Century Maths book. So we're on page 106. Okay, so let's define a factor. A factor of a number divides, leaving no remainder. So 4 is a factor of 12, because 12 divided by 4 is 3. 5 is not a factor of 12, because 12 divided by 5 is 2, and we have a remainder of 2. Okay, the highest common factor is the highest number or factor which will divide into 2 or more numbers, leaving no remainder. Okay, so the highest common factor of 3 and 12 is 3. The highest common factor of 10 and 20 is 10. And the highest common factor of 5 and 15 is 5. Okay, so I'm just going to do 3 more. And I want you to pause the video and see if you can do these highest common factors. Okay, so I want you to calculate the highest common factor of 4 and 100. The highest common factor of 6 and 50, and the highest common factor of 10 and 80. Okay, off you go. Okay, hopefully you did that now. The highest number which will divide into 4 and 100 without leaving a remainder, that is to say the highest factor which will divide into 4 and 100 is 4. The highest factor to divide into 6 and 50 is 2, and the highest common factor to divide 10 and 80 is 10. Now we can work this out by using this algorithm here. Okay, so this is 80. So we divide by 2 to get 5 and 40. You can divide by 5 to get 1 and 8. The highest common factor is here. 2 times 5 is 10. Okay. So let's have a look at the highest common factor of 16x and 40xy. So we use this algorithm. Start off by 2, we get 8, 20. Start off by dividing by 2 again, we get 4 and 10. Can divide by 2 again to get 2 and 5. We stop because the only number we can divide next is 1. So the highest common factor is here, which is 2 cubed, which is 8. Now, we have an x and an xy. So, in the numbers, we definitely have 8. And the only factor which will divide x and xy is x. And if you remember, a factor divides a number leaving no remainder. So the factor should be, can be multiplied to make each of the numbers. Okay, so 8x can be multiplied by 2 to get 16x. And the 8x can be multiplied by 5y to get 40xy. Okay, pause the video and see if you can do the next 2 examples. Okay, so let's have a look. This time I'm going to work in red. So we have 12 and 28. We can divide by 2 to get 6 and 14. We can divide by 2 again to get 3 and 7. Okay, we stop because the highest number which we can divide into 3 and 7 is 1. So the highest common factor is 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay. We don't have any letter in the 28, so we just leave it as 4. And you can do this one by inspection. The highest number, which will divide into 1 and 4 without leaving a remainder, that is the highest factor, is 1. And then we have an A in both terms. So A times B gives AB, and A times 4 gives 4A. Okay, so let's have a look at some more examples. Okay, so some students had problems with question 5. So I'm just going to go over question 5 eventually, but let's start off with question 2. Okay, so question 2 said let's do a range. Let's start off with A, highest common factor of 9 and 6. Let's do E, highest common factor of 33 and 22. And let's do H, highest common factor of 45 and 30. Okay, so this is how you set your work out. And let's do that little algorithm again. We got 9 and 6. 2 doesn't work, 3 works to get 3 and 2. Okay, so we stop. So the highest common factor is 3. Let's do the same for 33 and 22. 2 doesn't work, 3 doesn't work, 4 doesn't work, 5 doesn't work. So the highest common factor of these two numbers is just 1. Actually, 11 works. Three times 11 is 33. 2 times 11 is 22. So we have highest common factor is equal to 11. Okay, so let's do this with 45 and 30. We can do 3 to get 15 and 10. Then we can do 5 to get 3 and 2. We stop. And the highest common factor then is 3 times 5, which is 15. Okay, so let's have a look at some more examples. Question 3 says list the factors. Okay, so I'm going to do A, 5m. Let's do G, 32x squared y. And let's do H, 15ab. Now, factors divide the number leaving no remainder. Okay, a good way to work out the factors is to work out which numbers multiplied to give the number. Okay, so we've got 5m, 5 times m. So the factors are 1, 5, and m. And we can show that 5m divided by 1 is just 5m. 5m divided by m is just 5, and 5m divided by 5 is just m. Okay, so 32x squared y. It says list the factors, and we want 4 factors. Okay, so on this one, we've got 1, 2, 3, and obviously 5m is a factor also. Okay, so let's have a go at 32xy. So x is a factor because 32xy times x is 32x squared y because we add the powers. So x is a factor. We can say that y is a factor, 32 is a factor, and x squared y is a factor. Okay, so there's more answers than just these. You could also say 16 is a factor because 2 times 16 is 32, x squared y. You could say 4 is a factor because 4 times 8 is 32, and then you get x squared y. You could say that 2 is a factor. Okay, so for h, we need 4 factors. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got b, we've got a, we've got 3, and we've got 5. And let's show some workings there. It's important that we show a solution. So 5 is a factor because 5 times 3ab is 15ab. 3 is a factor because 3 times 5ab is 15ab. A is a factor because 15b is 15ab. B is a factor because 15a multiplied by b is 15ab. Okay, let's move on to some more questions, and then we will finish. 3 more questions, and then we will finish the video. Okay, so the final questions were, let's use this one. Final questions were, find the highest common factor of each pair. Now, let's do 3. It says find HCF of each pair. Okay, so let's do a HCF of 3xy and 12x. Let's do k HCF of 22m and 4mn. And let's do the final one, R. That's HCF of 36t 36t and 12ty. Okay, so let's use that algorithm again. So we've got 3 and 12. 2 doesn't go in, 3 does, to get 1 and 4. So the highest common factor is 3, and we've only got an x term common in both. So that means that our factor is going to be 3x. And remember, we need to check to see if the factor multiplies to give that number. Well, 3x multiplied by y gives 3xy. So that works. 3x times 4 gives 12x. So that works. Okay, so highest common factor of 22 and 4. So 22 and 4. Divide by 2 to get 11 and 2. So we stop. So this is the highest common factor. But don't forget we have an m common in both. So that becomes 2m. And let's check to see if we can make the number. So we've got 2m multiplied by 11 gives 22m. That's fine. And we have 2m times 2n. 2 2s are 4mn. Okay, so hopefully you did R. If you didn't, pause the video. So let's use our algorithm again. So we've got 36 and 12. You can divide by 2 to get 18. And 6, divide by 2 again to get 9 and 3. Divide by 3 to get 3 and 1. We stop because 1 is the highest number, which will divide into 3 and 1. Okay, so the highest common factor is 2 times 2 times 3. 2 2s are 4, 3 4s are 12. Okay, so we got 12, and what's common in both? We only have a t common. So it's 12t. And let's finally show that 12t is a factor of Okay, so we want to show that 12t multiplies by something to give 36t, and 12t multiplies by something to give 12ty. Okay, well, 3 12s are 36, so this works. 12t multiplied by y, so this works. We need to be careful with this method because it shows that it's a factor, but it doesn't necessarily show that it's the highest factor. And we need to use this method here to make sure it's the highest factor. Okay, now I'm going to break my word and we're going to do one more question. We're going to do one final question. And I'm going to write this nice and big. I would like you to find the highest common factor of 4x squared y and 100x cubed y to the 4. Okay, off you go. Okay, so hopefully you've done that. Now let's have a go at finding the highest common factor of the numbers. Okay, start off with 2, we get 250. Or 2 again to get 1 and 25. So the highest common factor is there, which is 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay, we now need to consider the highest common factor of x squared y and x cubed y to the 4. Okay, now we can actually use the same method. We can divide by x. There we get x, y, x squared y to the 4. Divide by x again to get y and x cubed y to the 4. Can't divide by x again, but we can divide by y to get 1. Okay, that is a little mistake there. That should say... Okay, that should just be x. We can divide by y to get 1 and x y to the 3. Okay, so this is the highest common factor. x times y, which is x squared y. Okay, so the highest common factor then is 4x squared y. Now, you can also do this by inspection. Now, let's test to see if our highest common factor indeed gives the... Okay, so we've got 4x squared y. We need to multiply that by something to give 4x squared y. It's just 1. And we've got 4x squared y times something to give 100x cubed y to the 4. Okay, so 4 times 25 gives 100, and we need to get x cubed, so we need to multiply by 1 more x and y to the 3, so that works. Just remember that when we multiply in, we add the powers, which we've done previously. Okay, hopefully this helps. If it doesn't, you need to do a little bit more practice. Start on the easy questions and then take a look at the video again.